بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. First and foremost, ikhwa, I'm a little under the weather, so I ask the brothers to be patient with me. And all mistakes and that's what for someone from my own shortcomings. I will try to get through this as swiftly as possible, but as precise as possible as well. And so when looking at this, or the subject, looking at the subject of this evening, or when mentioning the subject of this evening, we're going to take a look at Taqlid, which is normally translated as blind following, and those who are currently obliging others with Taqlid. Because today, this is occurring. I'd like to begin this brief reminder with the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala when He says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعْ وَقَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعْ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ أَبَاءَنَا. Allah says, and when it is said to them, follow that which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has set down, they say that on the contrary, or however, we will follow that which we found our forefathers upon. أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. Did their fathers not comprehend anything? Neither did they comprehend a thing, nor were they guided. Imam al-Shawkani, wa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, he states, commenting on this particular verse, وَفِي ذَلِكَ دَلِيلٌ عَلَى قَبْحِ التَّقْلِيدِ وَالْمَنْعِ مِنْهُ. In this particular verse, there's an evidence for the ugly nature of at-taqlid and a barrier or blocking from it. The verse points to it being blocked or prevented. Shaykh Abdul Rahman ibn Nasir al-Sa'adi, he, while commenting on the taqlid of the mushrikeen, he states, فَهَذَا دَلِيلٌ عَلَى إِعْرَاضِهِمْ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. This taqlid of theirs, it is an evidence for as it relates to them shunning the truth, وَرَغْبَتِهِمْ عَنْهُ, and them having a disdain for the truth, وَعَدَمِ إِنصَافِهِمْ, and their lack of being fair. فَلَوْ هَدَوْا لِرُشْدِهِمْ وَحُسْنِ قَصْدِهِمْ لَكَانَ الْحَقُّ هُوَ الْقَصْدُ. And if or had they been upon guidance, if they were guided, then they would have been led towards what would have been straight for them, and they would have been led towards having what we consider to be a good qasd, or a good intent. And that is as it relates to the truth, meaning the truth would have been that which they were, their objective or their goal. And whoever makes the truth his objective, and he uses it as a scale to differentiate between, or he uses ways between it and between other than it, other than the truth, then it becomes clear to him where that which is correct is. It becomes clear to him that which is considered to be correct, or that which is considered to be truth, or that which is considered to be right. and he will follow it, yani that truth or that which is correct, if indeed he is one that is fair and just. In this day and time, we have callers that attribute themselves to Salafiyyah, that wrap this Taqlid in the clothing of Sunnah, in the clothing of Salafiyyah, meaning that they are upon Taqlid and obliging others with Taqlid, but they're claiming that it is the minhaj of the Salaf. This Taqlid that they're upon and obliging others with, they're claiming that it is the methodology of the Salaf. For this reason, it is incumbent upon us as it relates to this issue of Taqlid, and this is that which I'm presenting right now, and is more so an introduction to what I'm going to deal with. But it is important for us to go back to the basics as it relates to what Taqlid is, because it's quite obvious right here in the city of Philly, regardless if you're out of Germantown or out of Masjid bin Baz or any other masjid that attributes themselves as a Sunnah and Salafiyyah, obviously the people are not understanding what Taqlid is. The people are not understanding what Taqlid is. So to illustrate what Taqlid is, and it is incumbent upon us to quote the definitions to this word. Now keep in mind, in the Arabic language, words can take one of three meanings: either a Shar'i meaning or Islamic legislative meaning, two, a lughawi meaning, meaning a linguistic meaning, a meaning that's specific to the language, or three, an urfi meaning, or a customary meaning. And notice that I said could take. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's always like that. So right now, when we're dealing with the definition of at-taqlid, we're not dealing with the definition from the perspective of the language. We're dealing with the definition from the perspective of al-Islam, the Islamic technical definition. So Al-Shaykh Al-Shinqiti, wa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, Muhammad Amin Al-Shinqiti, he states that taqlid, it is قبول قول الغير من غير معرفة دليله. It is accepting the speech of another without having an awareness of what his evidence is. This is simple. So-and-so says something, Ya Fulan, you have to do this. And you don't know why he's saying that. You don't know why he's saying that. As Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, wa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he states taqlid, it is ittiba' man laysa qawluhu hujja. It is following whomsoever speech is not a proof. It is following whomsoever speech is not a proof. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he states, وهذا كما قال أبو عمر فإن الناس لا يختلفون في أن العلم هو المعرفة الحاصلة عن الدليل وأما من دون الدليل فإنما هو تقليد. In his book, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he states, and he's having a munaqasha or a discussion concerning taqlid, and he says, and it is just as Abu Umar stated, where he says that indeed the people, they differ, the people did not differ, لا يختلفون. They did not differ in that knowledge is an awareness, an acquired awareness by way of evidence. Now keep in mind what he's saying about what knowledge is. As for what is besides that, meaning a statement without any evidence, then it is only taqlid. It is only taqlid. So again, when we're looking at taqlid, we're looking at a statement. We're looking at a statement. But this statement, it in and of itself is not a hujjah in a religion. And the statement is being said or made without an awareness of what the hujjah for that statement is. Thus the following of that is that taqlid or blind following. When looking at this, there are three particular things that we want to walk away with. The first thing is, what is evidence? What is evidence? That's the first thing that we want to understand in light of what was just said. The second thing that we want to understand is that the muqallid, or the one that blind follows, is not upon knowledge. It's not upon knowledge. And we'll make that clear. And the third thing is that it is considered blameworthy for whoever has the ability to look into a matter and ascertain what the truth is of that matter, in that matter, yet he gives preference to blind following the statement of others. He gives preference to blind following the statements of others. So when dealing with this, then we want to take a look at, first and foremost, ما هو الدليل. ما هو الدليل. What is evidence? Now it is without a doubt that anybody that attributes themselves to the Sunnah and Salafiyyah is automatically going to say the Kitab and the Sunnah ala fahm as-salaf as-salih. That this is evidence. The Kitab and the Sunnah is a given. There's no need for me to quote the abundance of evidence that point to that, because it's well known to all of us. It's well known to all of us. The third thing, we may say fahm as-salaf, but we're going to look at it from this perspective. The third evidence in Islam is al-ijma', or consensus. And normally people would say consensus of the scholars. But before I deal with that, I want to present what is intended by al-ijma', because again, we're looking at an Islamic technical definition. The definition for al-ijma', it is اتفاق مجتهدي هذه الأمة بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على حكم شرعي. It is the unanimous agreement of the mujtahidun of this ummah, the mujtahidun of the scholars, those who are upon the level of ijtihad. And this is after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it is as it relates to an Islamic legislative ruling. This is halal, this is haram, and thus forth and so on. Now, how an ijma' works, because ijma' is proof in a religion, is that if you have, like for instance today, we have scholars. that all the scholars of this generation will have to agree upon a certain matter that is halal or haram. But likewise, it cannot be considered an ijma' if the generation before that differed. No, the generation before that had to have had the same opinion. And the generation before them had to have the same opinion. And the generation before them had to have the same opinion, all the way until you get to the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, all of us know of the statement of Imam Ahmed when he stated that whoever says that there is ijma' in this, then he is lying. And that is, as the scholars point out, because it is impossible to pinpoint if something is considered ijma' in generations, in latter generations. Today, the generation before us, or the generation of Imam Ahmed, due to the people, many multitudes of people reaching the level of ijtihad and may differ in a particular mas'ala. However, it is not impossible for us to determine that as it relates to the first generation of Muslims with the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their statements are widespread. Their statements are widespread. We are able to determine what was considered ijma' amongst them. Thus, the generation that's giving real consideration as it relates to ijma' is the generation of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And no generation after them is allowed to differ with them in something that they all agreed upon. For this reason, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is one of the proofs for ijma', the Hadeeth of Ibn Umar, which is collected by Imam at-Tirmidhi, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stated, "La tajtami'u ummati ala dalalah," that my ummah, my nation, will not gather upon or unite upon misguidance. They will never unite upon misguidance. So that's the first thing. That evidence is the Qur'an, the Sunnah, and al-Ijma'. So if you have other than these three things, stating halal, stating haram, a statement of an individual or a group of individuals, and thus forth and so on, then their statement has to be based off one of these three sources in our religion: the Kitab, the Sunnah, and al-Ijma'. Now, as it relates to the Muqallid, the second affair, the Muqallid is not upon knowledge and not considered to be from the people of knowledge. The Muqallid is not upon knowledge, nor is he to be considered from the people of knowledge. This is very important. That means in a knowledge-based discussion, his opinion means nothing. In a knowledge-based discussion, because Islam is not a democracy, everybody's opinion doesn't matter. We may be taught that here in America in our upbringing, that your voice matters, your opinion matters. No, everybody's opinion doesn't matter when we're dealing with Islamic rulings, things of this nature. As the Muqallid has no place in these discussions. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he states, لا يجوز للمقلد أن يفتي في دين الله بما هو مقلد فيه وليس على بصيرة فيه، سواء أنه قول من قلده دينه. هذا إجماع من السلف كلهم. He states that it is not permissible. It is not permissible. It is not permissible for the blind follower to issue a verdict as it pertains to the religion of Allah. It is not permissible, in accordance with that which he himself is blind following. It's not permissible. That being because he is not upon knowledge. He is not upon knowledge in that affair. And this is regardless if it is the speech of the one that he is blind following in his religion. He may just be conveying to you the statement of the one that he's blind following in his religion. And then he states that this statement that he just made had the ijma'un min as-salaf, and there was consensus amongst the salaf, all of them, in this regard. That the one who's just simply blind following, Sheikh Rabi said, Sheikh Ubaid said, Sheikh Abdullah al-Bukhari said, and they don't have anything except that, and they have no ma'rifah of what their dalil is, and this person's statement is insignificant in discussions of knowledge. Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin wa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, he states, ajma'u ijma'an, he puts emphasis on it, على أن المقلد ليس معدودا من أهل العلم. He says that there is a consensus that the blind follower is not counted amongst the people of knowledge. لأن العلم معرفة الحق بدليله. Because knowledge is knowing the truth with its evidence. Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin also stated, وَالْمُقَلِّدْ لَا يَعْرِفُ الْحَقِّ بِدَلِيلِهِ. He states that the blind follower doesn't know the truth with its evidence. He's speaking about the condition of this type of individual. كما أن العامي يسأل العالم فكذلك المقلد يقلد إمامه ولذلك فالمقلد ليس بعالم. So he said, just like a general Muslim, and what I mean by general Muslim is someone who is not from the scholars or the mujtahideen or even the students of knowledge, someone who's a common 9 to 5 Muslim. Just like he asks a scholar to ascertain what is correct in an affair, then like that, the muqallid, he blind follows his imam. And because of that, the muqallid is not deemed or considered to be an alim, or a person of knowledge, or a scholar, and thus forth and so on, or one who has understanding of the affair that he's blind following. Because his hujjah is so-and-so said. Even if he may be bringing the most knowledgeable of scholars today's statement, his awareness of the affair is Sheikh so-and-so said. And that's not counted as knowledge. The third, it is considered to be blameworthy for anyone that blind follows a scholar while he has the ability to ascertain and to analyze an affair to find out what the truth is as it relates to that affair. And this is specific to students without a doubt. Scholars first and foremost, and students. The students are on different levels. But for a student, especially one that is involved in da'wah, that has a multitude of people that trust in his opinions and his statements, it is befitting for this student that when issues arise, especially as it relates to that which is a means of splitting the ranks of the believers, that he takes the opportunity and time to analyze an affair and look into it in order to ascertain what is correct in that affair, and not to simply throw his hands up in the air and blind follow and wage war with others based off his blind following. This isn't knowledge, and this is considered blameworthy for the one that would do this. As Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, as it relates to this point, he states, وَلَيْسَ بِعِلْمٍ يعني التقليد كما يسأل العامي العالم فيخبره بالحكم، ولكن هذا لا يعني التقليل من قدر الأئمة لأنهم اجتهدوا وتعبوا في العلم والفقه، لكن العيب ليس فيهم والعيب في من قلدهم مع إمكان اجتهاد. He states, and it is not from knowledge, and he's referring to blind following. And so he gives an example, just like a common person asks a scholar, and the scholar informs him of a ruling. This thing does not diminish the status of the scholars or the imams of knowledge, because they are upon ijtihad. They put forth efforts and become tired as it pertains to knowledge and fiqh and ascertaining the truth. However, what is blameworthy, what is blameworthy, or they are not blameworthy. Excuse me, that's a better translation. لكن العيب ليس فيهم. The blameworthiness or the aib or the blame is not to be placed in them. Yani in the scholars, those that put forth efforts to find out what the truth is. The aib is in whosoever blindly follows them, while he has the ability to ascertain what is correct in an affair. What is correct in an affair. These 3 points are very important, because they point out to us that the asl of at-taqlid is the asl, meaning the fundamental principle, the fundamental ruling concerning taqlid is that it is prohibited. It is prohibited. But when looking at and understanding the statements that were just previously made, then we have to understand that a lot of confusion has come about due to people being upon taqlid, 1, or 2, obliging others with taqlid. Now, I'm not the type of person that's going to leave it to you to figure out. That time is past. That time is over. Hoping that people figure out what's going on and who's doing what, that's over. So we're going to give an explicit example of how one is obliging a multitude of people to blind follow their statement. I'm pretty sure that everybody was aware of when Abu Muhammad al-Maghribi warned against Abu Abdus-Salam al-Juyani. Everybody's familiar with that, correct? No. Abu Muhammad al-Maghribi, in his warning against Abu Abdus-Salam, he hurled some vicious accusations at the brother. From what he mentioned, and the clip is still on the internet even after Sheikh Rabi gave the advice for that, for all of that to be taken down. Now picture that. You have some people claiming that people are not accepting the advice of Sheikh Rabi, but in a private gathering when rectification was sought, Sheikh Rabi advised all those warnings to be taken down, and yet it's still on the internet. I was able to find it to just briefly jot down what he said. Imagine that. From the things that the accusations that he hurled against our brother was, he's arrogant and doesn't accept advice. Another accusation, he caused a lot of fitna and a lot of problems. Another accusation, he's not fit for da'wah. Another accusation, he caused problems in Jersey, he caused problems in many places, he caused problems in Durham, he caused problems at Masjid Tawheed, he caused problems in North Palm Beach, Florida. Another accusation, he's majhul. The ulama don't know him. And one of the most vicious of them are, people like him are the reason for all the problems. People like Al-Junyani. All the problems amongst the ranks of the Salafis that we find happening here in Philadelphia and in other places is people like him that are the cause to all of the problems. Ikhwatul Islam, ya ibadallah, these are accusations that a person has to present proof for. Especially when looking at the fact that they're being hurled at a person who is unknown for any of that. Some of the brothers in New Jersey informed me that when Abu Muhammad al-Maghribi made the statement, it caused somewhat of an uproar amongst the people that heard it. So one of the brothers went to Maghribi and questioned him about this. Why do you say these things about Junyani? Because one of the things that he said, his conclusion, why he was saying all this, he said, as I guess advice to the people, don't listen to him, don't deal with him. Now he's warning against another Salafi. So a brother goes to him and asks, what is your proof for these accusations you've levied upon this brother? He responds, I don't want to talk to you. Meaning, you're not somebody from amongst the students for me to be discussing these issues with. The brother, from what I was told, responded, but you just warned against him in front of everybody. A crowd full of quote-unquote non-students. What do you mean you don't want to talk? The response after that, do you want me to take your name to Sheikh Rabi? Do you want me to take your name to Sheikh Rabi? This is a classic example of a person that was obliging others to blind follow his statement. To blind follow his statement. That he expected people to leave this brother alone, and he doesn't have to bring any proof to justify why he's saying what he's saying. Just accept that because I feel like you should stay away from him. In other words. Now keep this in mind. When I was in Yemen, I had the opportunity to visit a Sheikh Abdulaziz al-Bura'i. And it was me and a brother from Los Angeles, a brother from amongst the Anjelesiyin named Abu Yusuf. I said from amongst the Anjelesiyin, not the Yorkiyin, right?
No.
Not Abu Yusuf from Khalifa of New York. Abu Yusuf from amongst the Anjelesiyin. After the Dars of Sheikh Bura'i, the general Dars, he went down into his library where he had another Dars amongst his specific students. And after that Dars was over, myself, the Sheikh, and Abu Yusuf, we walked to the Sheikh's house. And the Shaykh entertained us from that time all the way up to Asr. So that was about 2 hours. He broke out the tea, and we sat and we drank tea on his porch all that time while questions were being presented to the Shaykh. One of the questions I presented to the Shaykh was, is it possible for a student of knowledge to warn against another Salafi without being preceded by the ulama? And this is years before this whole Maghribi doing what he did. The Shaykh, he responded, if you have a person in a locality that is clearly upon Tashayyu', yani upon Shi'ism, he curses the companions, he states that the Qur'an was changed by the companions and Muhammad's name was taken out, Ali's name was taken out and Muhammad's name was put in his place. He curses the angel Jibril and thus forth and so on, as it relates to their sifat. If you have a person like this teaching in the area, that may be unknown to the scholars have never warned against him, but he's clearly upon this way, then a student of knowledge doesn't need a scholar to precede him in warning against an individual like this. On the contrary, it's upon that student to make his affair clear to the people. That individual is from amongst the Shia. But then the Shaykh, he stated, however, if you have a person, a da'i, Salafi, known for Salafiyyah, and then he falls into some mistakes, and the Shaykh did this with his hands. He falls into some things. He said, you would need the statement of a scholar to precede you before warning against a person of this nature. You would have to have that. Why? Because now that means that the scholar looked into the situation, analyzed the situation based off the text of the Qur'an and the Sunnah and the principles derived therefrom, and concluded that this individual should be warned against. Now keep in mind, the question was warned against, not make tabdir', because there's a difference between tahdir and tabdir'. So now the question would be, we all know from that which transpired that there was no known scholar that warned against Al-Junyani before Maghribi did his thing. And Maghribi never presented any proof for the claims that he made against this brother. But he expected people to follow him. This is an example of obliging others with taqlid to his statement. Because it was a statement without the awareness of his proof. And when we look at the outcome of that fitna, the meeting with Sheikh Rabi, and that which was accomplished from that meeting, then we come to realize that what they had was one big fat nothing burger. They had nothing tangible. For this reason, Shaykh Rabi said, you all are Salafi and the shaitan has come between you all. Return back to how you were before this. This is an indication to show that their warning was unjustified. It was unjustified. And we have other examples. Musa Richardson. Musa Richardson warned against the brothers privately in Canada. One of the brothers informed me about his encounter with Musa, one of the brothers in Canada, when Musa and Umar Quinn went out there to do some talks. And he questioned Musa, well, why do you say what you say? And him and Musa went back and forth for a long time. And one of the things that the brother kept saying is that Musa would do a lot of talking, but really wouldn't answer his question, because it was one simple question. Why are you saying what you're saying? He's not asking you about who's the most knowledgeable about the people here. He didn't ask you about that. What proof do you have to substantiate what you're saying? So the brother, after going back and forth, he said, Musa eventually said to him, go back to your elder, go back to Maghribi. And whatever Maghribi tells you, just follow what he has to say. Or something to that effect. Because Maghribi is supposedly the person that knows the condition and blah, blah, blah. So here it is, he never was able to present proof, and he was obliging this person to blind follow what Maghribi had to say. Whatever Maghribi advises you with, just accept it. Just accept it. This is the reality. These are two examples, but this is the reality of what has been taking place in the field of da'wah as of late. To the point now that you have people wondering what's going on. Salafy versus Salafi pub, Salafi versus blah blah blah, Salafi Ahlil Hadeeth versus Germantown. And thus forth and so on. But the reason for this is because of an underlying agenda that has nothing to do with the da'wah. And Allah knows best what that agenda may be. But it becomes apparent when you find people calling others to stuff like this, taqlid, of a statement with no principle, that's not principle backed, that's not proof of evidence backed, and thus forth and so on. So that was the introduction to what I wanted to present. Now let's go into what I have to present. Now I'll be reading from the book Al-Adilla wal-Barahin al-Wadihat fi Bayan Inhiraf Arafat. The clear proofs and evidence pertaining to the clarification of the inhiraf, or the deviation of Arafat. يعني Arafat al-Muhammadi, the Su'ufuq min al-Sa'afiqa. The Sheikh Muhammad and others have been warned against. And I want to emphasize this. There are people who are obliging with blind following, claiming that it is Sheikh Muhammad and Sheikh Muhammad alone that has transgressed against these individuals and caused the splitting and the differing and thus forth and so on. First and foremost, Sheikh Muhammad is not alone, and he never was alone. And in fact, he entered into the fitna later on. The fitna had already been occurring. There are mashaykh that are with Sheikh Muhammad, and we'll mention that later on. But I'm reading from the chapter Qawaa'id min kalam Shaykh al-Islam tata'allaqu bi bayan al-minhaj al-sahih fi thalathi qadaya. Principles from the speech of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, that are connected to the clarification of the authentic minhaj in three particular affairs. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi states, وَلَا يَجُوزُ, and once again, there's another scholar starting off with the hukm, وَلَا يَجُوزُ, it is not permissible, لِأَحَدٍ أَنْ يُرَجِّحَ قَوْلًا عَلَى قَوْلٍ بِغَيْرِ دَلِيلٍ. ولا يتعصب لقول على قول ولا لقائل على قائل بغير حجة بل من كان مقلدا لزم حكم التقليد فلم يرجح ولم يزيف ولم يصوب ولم يخطئ. This is very important what Shaykh al-Islam is saying. It is not permissible for anyone to consider to be more weighty a statement over another statement. When I say more weighty, meaning more correct, more sound. It is not permissible for anyone. If you have two individuals differing on a matter, it is not permissible for anyone to consider this statement to be more sound and valid than this other statement without evidence. And we stated what evidence was earlier. Kitab, Sunnah, and Ijma'. Nor is he to fanatically cling to a statement over another statement, or fanatically cling to an individual speaking or making a statement over another individual who's speaking an affair and making a statement without proof. Without proof. On the contrary, whoever is a blind follower, then apply to him is the ruling of Taqlid. Meaning we call a spade a spade. This man is a blind follower. His statement means nothing here. Why? Because as we stated earlier, the person who is upon Taqlid, or the muqallid, he is not counted from those that have knowledge. If it's as it relates to a specific affair, even though in all other affairs he may be upon proof and dalil, then in this particular affair, he is not upon knowledge therein. Why? Because he's blind following. So then the Shaykh al-Islam states, as a result, he does not say this is more sound. How can he say that? He's not upon knowledge in the affair. He can't declare this to be more correct. Nor can he declare something else to be false. Nor can he declare something to be correct or right. Nor can he declare something to be a mistake. This is while he is upon this circumstance of blindly following. This is why he is in that state. ومن كان عنده من العلم والبيان ما يقوله سمع ذلك منه فقبل ما تبين أنه حق ورد ما تبين أنه باطل ووقف ما لم يتبين فيه أحد الأمرين. Shaykh al-Islam, he then states, whoever has with him knowledge and a clarification about whatsoever is stated, or what one says concerning the particular affair, and this is heard, then what should be done is that it should be accepted that which is made clear to be the truth. If a person makes a statement and he has with him knowledge and clarification of the matter, then what he states in that affair is accepted, that which has been made clear to be the truth, and that which is made clear to be falsehood is rejected. That which it is not made clear if it is one or the other, if it is truth or falsehood, then a person has some type of refraining in that affair. If it is not clear to the individual what is the truth in this matter or what is falsehood, then a person steps back. There's wuquf. There is a stopping and one stops in indulging or interfering, for lack of better expressions, in that affair. The author, and then, Shaykh al-Islam continues, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He has made a differentiation between the people. Allah makes a differentiation between the people as it pertains to their strength and intellect. And just as He makes a differentiation as it relates to their strength and intellects, He also differentiates between them as it relates to their strength and body. Some people can bench press 200, while some people can bench press 400. That's what we're saying. Just like there's a difference in the strength of their body, likewise there's a difference in the strength of people's intellects. Now the author, Arif ibn Abdul Rahman al-Ja'far, he's going to take this statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah to deal with three affairs. And these affairs are prevalent and occurring as it relates to the issue of the Sa'afiqah. And it will expose some of the lies that are coming from people who are trusted in da'wah, who are in reality actually betraying their audience. Actually betraying their audience. The first affair, the author, he states, هل اختلاف بعض العلماء في شخص ما فأحدهم يجرحه والآخر يعدله هل يجوز لي أن أرجح أحد القولين وأدافع عنه بناء على أن القائل به أكبر سنا أو أكثر علما أو أعظم منزلة? He states, is the differing of some of the scholars concerning an individual like the differing concerning Arafat al-Muhammadi and the Sa'afiqah? We have our Sheikh Rabi, not viewing them the same way Sheikh Muhammad and others are viewing them. So is the differing between some of the scholars about an individual, if one criticizes him and the other praises him, is it permissible for me to consider to be more weightier those two statements, and for me to defend the statement of one out of the two? And my defense is strictly based and built upon the person making the statement being older in age and having more knowledge and being greater as it relates to his status. Now, for those that have been paying attention to what's going on, that's exactly what Abu Khadija and those that are with him have been doing to dismiss the knowledge-based and principle-backed warnings of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi and others against Arafat al-Muhammadi. They've been regurgitating over and over again, he's 20 years his senior. He was an alim while he was still in diapers, and other insulting statements that are meant to degrade Sheikh Muhammad. That he has more knowledge and that's what for so on. This is what they've been using as their ihtijaj. They're using these as proofs to dismiss what Sheikh Muhammad is saying. So, the author, he responds with the statement of Shaykh al-Islam, لا يجوز لأحد, and it is not permissible for anyone to consider a statement to be more weightier without evidence. Now keep in mind, evidence is not Sheikh so-and-so is older in age. Evidence is not Sheikh so-and-so is more knowledgeable. He's more knowledgeable of the affairs of men and the science of Jarh wa Ta'dil, and that's what for so on. That's not a proof. A proof is not Sheikh so-and-so's status is greater than his. These are not proofs. So it is not permissible for anyone to consider to be more valid the statement of two different scholars unless, without evidence. Nor is he to cling fanatically to the statement of one over the other, nor cling to a particular speaker over the other without evidence. Without evidence. So this basically dismisses those arguments. It shows that these are arguments that are not knowledge-based. These are not knowledge-based arguments. But obviously it's fooling somebody because they keep repeating it over and over again. These are not knowledge-based arguments. Now, there's something I want to take a look at. Think about this for 1 second. A scholar can be very knowledgeable, have a high status, and thus forth and so on. But one of the things that ulama point out is that doesn't mean that every time a scholar speaks that what comes from him is correct. That doesn't mean that. He's not ma'asum. The scholars are not ma'asum. Likewise, something could come to him of evidence in a particular mas'ala and he may not understand it. This is something that Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili stated, and it caused an uproar amongst the Sa'afiqah. Sheikh Sulaiman, he stated, قد يكون عند هذا العالم ما لم يبلغ هذا العالم أو قد يبلغه أو يبلغه لكن لم يفهمه فيقول لا يوجد دليل. He states that oftentimes there is with this scholar that which has not reached this other scholar. Or something has reached the other scholar, however he did not understand it. And as a result he says, there is no evidence. There is no evidence. Now Allah knows best what was the motivation for why Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili made the statement, I don't know the hearts of men. But the Sa'afiqah automatically took it as a shot, for lack of better expressions, at Sheikh Rabi. And so they were upset and called it dalala and misguidance and ignorance, and thus the statement ignorance and misguidance and thus forth and so on. Even though this statement has some backing within the text of the Qur'an and the Sunnah. We have an authentic narration that is upon the authority of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, or Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, where the Prophet ﷺ stated, مَثَلُ مَا بَعَثَنِ اللَّهُ بِهِ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْعِلْمِ كَمَثَلِ الْغَيْثِ الْكَثِيرِ أَصَابَ الْأَرْضِ. The example of that which I have been sent with, of guidance and knowledge, is like the likeness of an abundance of rain that hits the earth. فَكَانَ مِنْهَا نَقِيَّةٌ قَبِيلَةِ الْمَاءِ فَأَنْبَتَتِ الْكَلَى وَالْعُشْبَ الْكَثِيرِ. And so a portion of the earth that it hits is fertile and it accepts the water. And as a result, vegetation sprouts and grows. فَكَانَتْ مِنْهَا أَجَادِبُ أَمْسَكَتِ الْمَاءِ. And then there's a portion of the earth that is solid, slick and solid. So it holds the water. It doesn't absorb it, it holds the water. The Prophet ﷺ continued, فَنَفَعَ اللَّهُ بِهَا النَّاسِ. And the people benefit from that water. فَشَرِبُوا, as they drink from it. وَزَرَعُوا, and they irrigate the land with it. وَسَقَوْا, and they use that water or give that water to the animals to drink. وَأَصَابَتْ مِنْهَا طَائِفَةً أُخْرَى إِنَّمَا هِيَ قِيعَانٌ. But then that water hits another portion of the earth that is barren. It's barren. It does not absorb the water. It does not hold the water, nor does it cause any vegetation to grow. So the people haven't benefited from it. فَذَلِكَ مَثَلُ مَنْ فَقُهَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ وَنَفَعَهُ مَا بَعَثَنِ اللَّهُ بِهِ فَعَلِمَ وَعَلَّمَ. So this is the likeness of the individual that comprehends the religion of Allah. And he whom Allah benefits from that which I have been sent with. So he knows and he teaches it. وَمَثَلُ مَنْ لَمْ يَرْفَعْ بِذَلِكَ رَأْسًا. And likewise is the example of he who does not raise his head to this. وَلَمْ يُقْبَلْ هُدَى اللَّهِ الَّذِي أُرْسِلْتُ بِهِ. And he does not accept the guidance of which Allah sent me with. He does not accept the guidance. Now Shaykh Rabi, in his book Mudhakkar al-Hadeeth al-Nabawi, when going through the benefits of the different classes or types of people that are mentioned in this hadith, he goes to the second type concerning the earth that holds the water. He states, وَبَيَانْ عَنِ الصَّنَفِ الثَّانِي ومنهم الجامع للعلم المجتهد في تحصيله. The second type of people the similitude is pointing to are those who gather or compile knowledge and are diligent in acquiring it. لكنه لم يعمل بنوافله. However, he does not enact the recommended actions from amongst this knowledge. That's one thing that he states about those people that compile or gather this knowledge. Then he states, أو لم يتفقه فيها. He states, or he does not, أو لم يتفقه فيما جمع. He does not comprehend what he compiles, what he gathers. He's diligent in acquiring it and diligent in compiling it, but he may not fully understand what it is that he's compiling. But outside of the fact that he transmits it to others just as he acquired it. So he may memorize it, or however he is preserving it, writes it down, memorizes it, however, and he may not understand it, but he conveys it to others exactly the way that he obtained it. But notice that the Shaykh is saying, but he doesn't comprehend it. This is exactly what Shaykh Sulaiman was saying. That evidence may come and he may not understand it. So he says there is no dalil. The Shaykh Rabi continues, فَهُوَ بِمَنْزِلَةِ الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي يَسْتَقَرَّ فِيهَا الْمَاءِ. So he is on the level of the earth, the portion of the earth that the water settles therein. And the people benefit from it. And this statement is pointed to by way of the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He stated, "May Allah enlighten the man who hears my statement, memorizes it, and conveys it just as he heard it." Just as he heard it. In another channel transmission, it states, sometimes a person who is carrying a fiqh may convey it to someone who has more comprehension of what he's carrying. All of this is showing the truthfulness and the correctness of the statement of Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili when he says sometimes the evidence can reach a scholar and he may not comprehend it. And as a result, he says there is no evidence. So again, if Sheikh Sulaiman said this as it relates to the affair concerning the Sa'afaka, then Allah knows best. But we know that the Sa'afaka were in an uproar and accused Sheikh Sulaiman of saying something ignorant, when in reality, Sheikh Sulaiman's statement was in accordance with the text. That even a scholar is a human being, and sometimes he may not comprehend something correctly. So that's the first, from the statements of Shaykh al-Islam, that's the first mas'ala that the author broke it down into. The second thing, he continues, وَالثَّانِي, if a student of knowledge إذا اختار طالب العلم أن يقلد الشيخ الذي عدل هذا الشخص, if a student of knowledge chooses to blindly follow a scholar that praises an individual, the individual that's been criticized, لأنه من علماء الجرح والتعديل, and he chooses to blindly follow this scholar in his praise of an individual that's been criticized simply because he's the scholar of Jarh wa Ta'dil. And this is something else that we've been hearing. One of the things that is being used to dismiss Sheikh Muhammad's knowledge-based and principle-backed criticisms is Sheikh Rabi is the Imam of Jarh wa Ta'dil. This statement, and it's without a doubt, Sheikh Rabi is one of the most knowledgeable scholars of Jarh wa Ta'dil today. However, his status, to use his status to do away with a detailed disparagement, is in reality taqlid, or obliging others with taqlid. Why? Because Sheikh Rabi's status within this ummah is not a hujjah. And we've already stated what a hujjah is. They are
Qur'an, Sunnah, and the Ijma'.
And Ijma'. The Kitab, the Sunnah, and Al-Ijma'. And the status of a scholar is none of the three. So he continues, for the person that's like this, a student of knowledge that is like this, is it correct for him to have disapproval for the one who criticizes this individual with evidence and to declare to be a mistake, his statement to be a mistake, concerning this evidence? Is it correct for this person who is simply blind following a scholar in his praise of someone that's been criticized simply because of the fact that he's an alim of Jarh wa Ta'dil, to the point now that he says about the one that is criticizing the individual that comes with detailed evidence that his statement is incorrect and that he is mistaken about this individual? This is the question. And this is occurring in this issue. So he responds again with the statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh. من كان مقلدا لزم حكم التقليد فلم يرجح ولم يزيف ولم يصوب ولم يقطع. Whoever is blind following, then attached to him is the hukm of taqlid. And so what? He does not declare this statement to be sound or correct or more weightier, nor does he declare a statement to be false, nor does he declare a statement to be correct, nor does he declare a statement to be mistaken. This is the response. He's using the statement of Shaykh al-Islam to respond to that. Why is that? After all of that we just went through, why is that? Why is that? Can anybody tell me why? Hey, well, أقواله ليس بعلم. Because he's a muqallid. And the statement is not considered knowledge, nor is he considered to be those who are upon knowledge in that particular affair that he's blind following. So he has no right to say, this is correct, and that's incorrect. This is sound, and that is false, while he himself is not upon knowledge in that regard. Now, when we look at the issue of the Sa'afika and people like Musa Richardson and Maghribi and others that have been foolish enough to speak on this issue in front of the people, what have they been bringing of hujjah? They have been obliging people with Shaykh Rabi. That's it. Shaykh Rabi said he doesn't have an ounce of evidence. Shaykh Rabi is the senior scholar. Shaykh Rabi has looked into this affair and has ascertained this. And other statements that are similar to that. This is all that has been brought. But if we go back to this question that the author presents and what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi is stating, then anybody will understand that in a mas'ala like this, that is not acceptable. That is obliging others with taqlid. Because what you're saying is not knowledge nor proof. It's neither knowledge nor proof. الثالث, the third mas'ala, the third question that the author is bringing out of this statement. من تكلم بعد أن أحاط علما بالمسألة ودرسها هل ينكر عليه وما تفصيل الكلام في ذلك. Whoever speaks after he has, and I'm not going to try to give a verbatim word for word translation, just a meaning. Whoever has been engulfed in knowledge as it relates to an affair, he has knowledge of an affair, and he has studied the affair. Is it correct to have disapproval from one that is like this? And what is the details? What is detailed speech as it relates to that? What is detailed speech as it relates to that? So he quotes the last portion of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, وَمَنْ كَانَ عِنْدَهُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ وَالْبَيَانِ مَا يَقُولُهُ سُمِعَ ذَلِكَ مِنْهُ فَقُبِلَ مَا تَبَيَّنَ أَنَّهُ حَقٌّ وَرُدَّ مَا تَبَيَّنَ أَنَّهُ بَاطِلٌ وَوُقِفَ مَا لَمْ تَبَيَّنْ فِيهِ أَحَدُ الْأَمْرَيْنِ. That whoever has with him knowledge and a clarification of the matter, of whatsoever he speaks with, and that is heard from him, his knowledge and clarification in that regard, then, as a result, whatsoever has been made clear of the truth is accepted, and whatsoever has been made clear to be batil is rejected. And what has not been made clear concerning those two affairs, if it's truth or falsehood, then one refrains. Refrains from what? Refrains from speaking about that affair. Because it's not built or based upon knowledge. It's not backed or based upon knowledge. So when one says that Sheikh Muhammad, he has no dalil. Like Abu Iyad said, that he made a premature tabdi', premature tadlil, and thus forth and so on. Now first, before I continue, this is a lie that Abu Iyad continued to spread. Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi never made tabdi' of anyone. And for those that were looking into the affair and being unbiased, recognize that early on. I never understood from the statements of Sheikh Muhammad that a tabdi' was made of these individuals. Yet Abu Iyad kept insinuating that. In fact, I wrote an article responding to one of Abu Iyad's articles early on. A staggering negation, what's the title? A staggering negation disproving Abu Iyad's false allegations, or something to this effect. Something to this effect. Disproving the claim that Sheikh Muhammad made tabdi'. So that's the first thing. But the point that I'm making is, it was stated that Sheikh Muhammad is mistaken and that he has no dalil. That he has no dalil. I'm going to present, before I conclude this, some of the points that Sheikh Muhammad and others from amongst the ulama have against the Sa'afaka, specifically Arafat al-Muhammadi. Specifically Arafat al-Muhammadi. So that the brothers understand that not only is there legitimate mistakes that Arafat al-Muhammadi is making, but that he has actually opposed some of the usul of Salafiyyah. And we know all it takes is an individual to oppose an usul for him to be taken out of Salafiyyah. These are things that Germantown and Birmingham on Wright Street are not presenting to the people. They're making it seem as if Sheikh Muhammad made a premature tabdi', and then after that attempted to look for things to substantiate that. That is not the case. That is a lie, and that is betrayal to the audience of the people that trust them and listen to them in this regard. Now, one of the things that I want to point out, when is a Jarh Mufassir rejected? And this is very important. When is a Jarh Mufassir rejected? And I'm just going to read quickly because I believe my time is just about up. I'm not sure how long I've been speaking. How long have I been speaking? About an hour?
Hour 18.
Okay, let me try to wrap this up. All of this is very important. When is a Jarh Mufassir rejected? Sheikh Muhammad Bazmul, he stated, if a Jarh Mufassir contradicts if a detailed criticism contradicts a detailed praise, like what you all have asked about, because he was asked this question, he states, we do not reject a jarh except if the one that's making the praise of the individual mentions the reasons of the jarh made against that individual and then refutes those reasons. Meaning, if a person is criticized and a criticism is legitimate and detailed, and then another scholar thereafter praises him, then the only way that his praise of that individual who was criticized is accepted is if he mentions the reasons for why that person was initially criticized, and then he refutes the reasons why he was criticized. That's the only way a detailed praise is accepted over a detailed criticism. Then the Shaykh gives an example. كأن يكون مثلا الجارح جرح أو رجل. Like, for instance, if a person who criticizes a man, he criticizes him for an issue in his aqidah. So the person who comes and praises him thereafter, he says, yes, هو كان على هذا الاعتقاد. Yes, he was upon this evil aqidah, this evil belief. Then, however, thereafter, he abandoned it and never returned to it. Sheikh Bazmou is saying, this is how you accept a criticism over, praise over a criticism. That the one who is praising the individual has to acknowledge that jar, that yes, he was upon this evil or that evil. However, he made tawbah from it. He abandoned it and he never returned to it. That's the only way a praise is accepted over a criticism. And the Shaykh, he goes into more examples, bringing different, he brings different reasons for a criticism and giving examples, and then basically mentions the same thing. Now so-and-so was upon this, however he abandoned that. And that's for someone. So then he says, فَإِذَا ذَكَرَ الْمُعَدِّلْ سَبَبَ الْجَرْحِ وَرَدَّهُ قُبِلَ. If a person that is praising, he mentions the reasons for the criticism against an individual, and then he refutes it, then it is accepted. Then it is accepted. But then he says, بِشَرْطٍ أَنْ لَا يَعْرِفَ عن هذا الرجل المتكلم فيه التلاعب واتباع الهوى والغرور. But with the condition that this individual who has been criticized and then is claimed that he made tawbah, that he is not an individual that is known for playing with the deen and following desires, and one who is known for deception. One who is known for deception. You're not here for me. And I'm going to wrap it up, inshallah. What time you guys pray? You should hear usually?
20. Okay, we usually pray 20 minutes
7:20?
No, 20 minutes after. What time came? Like 6?
6:30, 17.
6:17.
Okay. Let me wrap it up. There's a lot of issues concerning this particular issue that need to be addressed. And that's why I wanted to take the time on this, because I don't want the brothers to walk away with any type of misunderstanding. And that's why I'm trying to be as detailed as possible. But I want to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up with this. There's a constant campaign being put in front of the people with the claim that Sheikh Muhammad does not have any evidence against the people that he has spoken about. And so whoever is in support of Sheikh Muhammad, then he in reality is a blind follower. So in closing, I want to present some of the things that are against just one of the Sa'afiqah, the one that Sheikh Muhammad referred to as being evil, that being Arafat al-Muhammadi. And I'm going to point out that these are things that are considered to be, breaches in the usul of Salafiyyah. First, Arafat al-Muhammadi made fun or defamation of the companions. And his defamation of the companions was very similar to the defamation that Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi made, because it was directed at the companions that participated in the Battle of Hunayn. And we know that some of them were new. And because of their numbers, they thought that they would be victorious. And some of them fled. And Ma'rabi stated, or used that as his proof to try to make the claim that some of the companions had with them Ghutha'iyyah, or scum-like qualities. Arafat al-Muhammadi made a very similar defamation of the companions in that same, as it relates to that same incident, stating that some of them, Iman had not fully entered their hearts. Some of them were only there because, in so many words, they were forced because of the Islam spreading and taking Mecca and like this, and other similar statements that is considered to be unbefitting to describe the companions of the Prophet ﷺ with, and considered to be defamation. Arafat al-Muhammadi was advised privately about that for years and didn't retract. He didn't retract until Sheikh Rabi was told about the statement without being told who made the statement. Now, these brothers, Maghribi and those, Abu Khadija and Abu Iyad and all these individuals, Musa Richardson and all of them, who have taken the opportunity to talk about this affair publicly without any knowledge, can consistently regurgitate the claim that Sheikh Muhammad doesn't have an ounce of dalil. Let us look at what Sheikh Rabi, when he was told about the statement, what he said. Again, he wasn't told that Arafat al-Muhammadi made the statement, he was just told the statement of Arafat. Sheikh Rabi stated, قاتله الله قاتله الله قاتله الله هذه المقالة فيها رفض. He said, may Allah fight him, may Allah fight him, may Allah fight him. This statement therein is Shi'ism. Therein is Shi'ism. This is one of the proofs of Sheikh Muhammad. Look at how Sheikh Rabi reacted to that. So how is it that it can be said that Sheikh Muhammad has no proof against these individuals? And keep this in mind, that this is considered a violation of an asl min usul Ahlul Sunnah. This is something that can take one out of Salafiyyah. Yet and still, Sheikh Muhammad did not make tabdi of them. So that's one. Two, Arafat al-Muhammadi's thought of the ulama. And for those that have sat in the durus of Sharh Sunnah of Imam al-Barbahari, by Hassan al-Somali, and others from amongst his group, then I'm pretty sure you've heard over and over again, which is a statement that is true, that defamation or speaking bad about the scholars is and has always been a distinguishing characteristic of who? The people of innovation. Arafat al-Muhammadi made thought of Sheikh Rabi. And when he was caught, he made tawbah. When he was caught for it, stating that Sheikh Rabi, that his minhaj in dealing with Hajuri and opposers was not in accordance with the methodology of the Salaf. But he also made defamation in private gatherings, defamations and warnings against Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili. Before him, the scholar of Medina, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, the Muhaddith of Medina, the scholar of Hadeeth of Medina, and his son, Sheikh Abdul Razak ibn Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad. In fact, one of the witnesses to this, he stated, كان يسأل عن الشيخ سليمان الرهيلي والشيخ عبد الرزاق العباد والشيخ عبد المحسن العباد وكان للأسف الشديد يحذر منهم تصريحا وتلميحا بطريقة ماكرة خبيثة. He stated that he used to be asked about Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Abbad, and Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, and unfortunately he would warn from them directly and indirectly. Yani by way of filthy scheming or plotting, and his verbal expressions were severe against them. His verbal expressions against them were severe. This is part of the ulama. This is yet again another also from the usul of Ahlul Sunnah that he's opposing. And then we have him inventing principles into the religion. The principle ردك لجرح العالم Hey, Jahun Fi, Barakallahu Fi, blank for a second, right? Your rejection of the criticism of a scholar is criticism of that scholar. So, if I disagree with Sheikh Rabi's criticism of Sheikh Muhammad, in other words, I'm really making criticism of Sheikh Rabi. In other words, that's what he's saying. This is newly invented. This is a principle that is unheard of before Arafat al-Muhammadi. Another principle that he invented, الطعن في بطانة العالم طعن فيه. Defamation of the close companionship of a scholar is defamation of that scholar. And this is something that Abu Khadija of Salafy Publications, when he went on his rant, his ignorant-based rant against Sheikh Muhammad, his ignorant-based, shameless rant against Sheikh Muhammad, he actually used this principle. On the internet now, one of the brothers, who may Allah reward him, put together a video where it had Abu Khadija's speech, where he was utilizing this false and newly invented principle, and then thereafter cut to the statement of Sheikh Ubaid al-Jabari, refuting that principle, as a means of refuting that principle. Because Sheikh Ubaid, like the others from the ulama, understand that sometimes a scholar could have around him people that are close up on him that he trusts, but they really have evil intentions, and they affect the way that he perceives certain scenarios. And this is not far-fetched, as the Prophet ﷺ had munafiqs around him. So how is it that an individual can perceive that a scholar won't have people that sow discord around them? Now these three things, because the claim is that Sheikh Muhammad is alone, and Sheikh Muhammad has no proof. I want to read to you all the statement of Sheikh Muhammad al-Aqil, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Waqil, when these statements came to him. He stated, وَقَدْ كُنْتُ أُسْأَلْ عَنْهُ كَثِيرًا فَأَجِيبْ بِأَنِّي لَا أَعْرِفَهُ. He stated, I used to be asked about him, meaning Arafat al-Muhammadi, a lot, and I will respond that I don't know him. أَمَّا بَعْدَ قِرَاءَتِي لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ, and he's talking about this book. After my reading of this book, فَقَدْ عَرَفْتُهُ, that now I know him, and I know his dangerous methodology that he traverses upon and falsely attributes it to the Salaf Salih. Although the Salaf Salih, they are distant from him. Now look at the language that Sheikh Muhammad al-Aqil is using about these errors of Arafat al-Muhammadi that Abu Iyad and Abu Khadija and other than them keep saying there's no proof against. He continues, وَإِنِّي لَأَدْعُو الْأَخْ عَرَفَاتِ إِلَى التَّوْبَةِ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ مُخَالَفَةِ مِنْهَاجِ السَّلَفِ. So indeed, or undoubtedly, I call this brother Arafat to Tawbah to Allah. Tawbah, ikhwan. The Islamic technical definition for Tawbah is الرجوع إلى الحق بعد الخروج منها. Returning to the truth after after abandoning it, after leaving it. Sheikh Muhammad Al-Akil, an alim, a scholar from the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah, after reading these evidence, is stating this, giving Arafat the advice, man, make tawbah. For what? From the opposition to the methodology of the Salaf. That Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi has no dalil? These are proofs. Even though Sheikh Muhammad has said it, Sheikh Muhammad said that Sheikh Rabi did not see all his proofs. But look at how, when Sheikh Muhammad Al-Akil saw the proof, look at how he's reacting. And then he states, and I remind you of the hour in which you will stand in front of Allah. I remind you of the hour that you will stand in front of Allah for these statements and actions of yours. And then he gives some other advice. He says, وَكَذَلِكَ فَإِنِّي أَدْعُو إِخْوَانِي الشَّبَابِ الَّذِينَ تَأَثَّرُوا بِمِنْهَاجِ هَذَا الرَّجُلِ إِلَى التَّوْبَةِ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَلُزُومِ مِنْهَاجِ السَّلَفِ. And I advise my brothers from amongst the youth who have been affected by this man and his methodology to make tawbah to Allah. Make tawbah, Abu Khadija. Make tawbah, Abu Iyad. Make tawbah, Musa, for your blind following based off nothing. Make tawbah. And he continues, he advises them with adherence to the methodology of the Salaf, because that which Arafat al-Muhammadi is upon and has been doing, as the Sheikh stated, is in opposition to this methodology. And then he gives some more advice. وَاحْذَرْهُمْ مِنْ أَنْ يَبِيعُوا أَجْرَاهُمْ بِدُنْيَا غَيْرِهِمْ. And caution them from selling their rewards for the dunya of others. From the dunya of others. This is Sheikh Muhammad Al-Akil's statements after reading this book. All of the observations of Arafat al-Muhammadi have been gathered into this book. This is his statement after reading this. This is his advice to the people. The evidence reached him. The evidence reached him. So the claim that one, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi al-Madkhali, has no evidence, it is a lie. It is a lie. Two, the claim that Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi is alone is also a lie. So when Musa Richardson made the statement, last ride or die no matter what his bees, then one of two things can be understood from this. Either one, Musa doesn't understand the magnitude of his statement. He doesn't understand the magnitude of his statement, or it points to the sheer recklessness of this individual. Because the biggest supporters of Sheikh Muhammad are other scholars. Sheikh Muhammad Al-Akil, Sheikh Abdul Rahman Muhyiddin, Sheikh Muhammad Firqo, Sheikh Abdul Majid Jumu'ah, Sheikh Lazhar Sanikra, Sheikh Ahmed Bazmour, Sheikh Muhammad Bazmour, Sheikh Usama Al-Utaybi, Sheikh Mahil Al-Qahtani, Sheikh Muhammad Aqur, and the majority of the Mashaykh in Jazan, and Sheikh Khalid bin Abdul Rahman, Sheikh Talat Zahran, Sheikh Adil Al-Sayyid, the Kuwaiti Mashaykh, Sheikh Adil Mansour, and. So it is a lie when people continue to claim that Sheikh Muhammad is alone and Sheikh Muhammad has no dalil. And with that, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I hope that this clears up some things as it relates to this fitna that has been taking place. Although there's a lot of things that have been thrown out within the last a few months or year, and of course we can't address it all, but hopefully this should suffice. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. Now.